So we touched on it there, but late controversy in last night's game after Ghana were not awarded that penalty for Ezri Konsa's challenge. We'll be speaking live to former Premier League referee Dermot Gallagher in just a moment. But first, here's what head coach Carlos Queiroz had to say.
I'm not sure. VAR is still working in the World Cup. We still have VAR. It's working. I have some doubts about that because another penalty that they need give to Ghana, clear penalty against England. They're lucky. They're very lucky. Once again, VAR went for a coffee, and it's natural. I would like them also to take my coffees once in a while. But it was a clear penalty. Clear penalty, red card.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So as promised, let's join Dermot Gallagher. There he is. Dermot, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. VAR went for a coffee break, says Carlos Queiroz. Has he got a right to be annoyed?
I can understand his frustration, Matt. I watched it and I thought it'd be a penalty. When I watched it live, I thought it's going to be a penalty here. The next question is, if he gives a penalty, what does he do next? Does he send him off? You have this latitude. If you say he's going making a genuine attempt for the ball, it will be a yellow card. But when you look, Konsa's flying through the air. He's nowhere near the ball. He catches his opponent across the knee. There's a still image. You know, he's nowhere near the ball. I think it's a penalty. I think he's got lucky. But I think the only saving grace for England may well have been if the VAR felt there was a foul on Eze when he won the ball back to make the run. I don't think that is a foul, but that would be their only saving grace. A bit like John McGinn on Saturday for Scotland. You know, I think he committed a foul to win the ball. When he went in the box, is he fouled for a penalty? May well be, but I think one would default. I think this one, they may look to see if it's a foul in the build-up on Eze, but I don't think that will be given.
Dermot, the player that Ezri Konsa challenged there, Prince Kwabena Adu, he didn't seem to appeal for a penalty after that challenge, and it didn't seem that there was much reaction from the Ghana players. And I know you're always on ref watch saying, you know, players shouldn't make a meal of challenges, etc. But do you feel that his reaction or non-reaction maybe influenced this decision? And does it almost feel like now players have to almost exaggerate a reaction to try and get a decision?
I hope not, Matt. But if you look at the incident, the ball's still live. Once Konsa makes that challenge, which, as I said, I think is a foul challenge, the ball runs live, his colleague comes in, there's a chance he may well put the ball in the net, it gets cleared, it goes out for a corner, and then eventually given offside against the player went in. But that shouldn't matter to the VAR, because if he looks, you know, he'll look and say, well, did Konsa make a genuine attempt to get the ball? He will say yes. He's flying through the air. Does he get the ball? Definitely not. You know, if the referee's relayed back to him, I think Konsa's got the ball. I think it's easy for the VAR because he says, well, look, the images quite clearly show he didn't. One of the things I have noticed, Matt, in this World Cup is there is a very, very high threshold for intervention. You know, as I say, we saw McGinn on Saturday with Scotland against Morocco. You know, that could well have been a penalty. They said no. You have seen quite a difference in the tolerance level, which in some ways is good. It's not good if you feel a penalty should be given for you. But I think one of the things that's helped this tournament is there has been a lot more physical contact. There's been a lot more competition. And I think that's become because the referees have had a higher tolerance level. They have allowed players to compete.
Dermot, there was also a bit of controversy surrounding Jude Bellingham. Covered his mouth while speaking to Jordan Ayew. Now, we saw Paraguay's Miguel Almiron sent off for doing the same, or was it the same? And was Jude Bellingham lucky to stay on the pitch?
I think what we've got to be careful of, Matt, we don't have a knee-jerk reaction every time somebody did it. It's a bit like the pulling the hair in the Premier League, wasn't it? Every time somebody tangled with somebody's hair, it was a red card. Now we've suddenly got this almost halfway house. If the referee thinks the player hasn't made an aggressive action, it can be a yellow card. I think in this situation, the rules are that if it's covering his mouth, which leads to a confrontation, you know, it is a confrontation like Almiron's was the other night, it will be a red card. You see this one, the players almost together. It's deemed not a confrontation and therefore not a red card. The other thing is it's dealt with on the field, because with the referee saying, well, he's happy with that, the VAR saying they're happy with that Bellingham will face no retrospective action.
Yeah, it's Darmish here, by the way, Dermot. Matt's on in a couple of hours, but I have been called a lot worse, let me tell you.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Listen, hydration breaks as well, a big topic throughout this tournament. England fans, and maybe some other fans, booed it after it was called just minutes after a lengthy delay following that head clash. Could the referee, in his remit, have just not called for another hydration break so soon after that enforced break? Or is it set in stone that at a certain time, midway through the half, they have to have this hydration break regardless?
I think, Darmish, I use the term all the time on this. It's almost a one size fits all. They've decided 23 minutes or as close to as possible. That's when it's going to be. It's going to be 3 minutes, irrespective of whether you're playing in 21 degrees air conditioned or whether you're playing outside when we've seen some horrendous temperatures. It's just the referee becomes a victim in this situation because he's following the mandate that FIFA have given him. Common sense, as we would say, would dictate that, why do you have to have two breaks so close to each other? There's a natural break where a player's been treated, but unfortunately that's not the way it goes.
Dermot, just a final one. What have you made of the standard of refereeing, the approach to refereeing so far in this tournament? And have you seen anything that maybe you'd like to see adopted in the Premier League next season?
I like the way they've set the bar a bit higher, Darmish. Honestly, I think the physical contact has aided the games. The England-Croatia game I thought was a fantastic game because the referee just allowed him to play, only interfered when he had. The one thing I really did like, and I've said this a few times on the programme already, the incident with Amaron and Ream, where Ream got a yellow card for a foul, a supposed foul, which was a dive. The fact they intervened so quickly and Ream's yellow card was eradicated. And I say eradicated because don't forget I was 14 minutes in. A player's under massive pressure as a centre half 14 minutes in. He didn't get that yellow card. He would have been under pressure further down the line in the second game if he got a second yellow card. And also people forget it would have been a free kick in a very dangerous position against Ream at that point. So I think that was a really, really good thing. Whether that will ever be introduced into Premier League, I don't know. But I really did like that, and I thought it was factual, it was justice.
Brilliant stuff, Dermot. Thanks for your time.
No bother, you're welcome.